Hello guys, and welcome to a new video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at Regiments, and more specifically their Operations Playtest, which is kind of like an open beta. For those of you unfamiliar with Regiments, it is another Cold War gone hot strategy game that's going to be coming out in 2022. It's made by Bird's Eye Games and published by Microprose. There was actually a playtest about 6 months ago for this game, and I would have showed you guys the Regiments on the channel back then, but unfortunately it just wasn't that good in my opinion, so I didn't really fancy showing it to you at the time. But now I would call this game borderline addictive. I found the Operations game mode that they've introduced very, very cool. Like, it is a very interesting concept that has a lot of replayability, but of course we'll get to that in a moment. In terms of the menu, it's obviously very basic. They're still working on their UI, but you do have tutorials here for when you join the game. If you want to actually get involved in the Operations playtest, you can go to Steam now, go to the Regiments page. You can sign up for it yourself, so you can give it a go. You've got your settings, of course, and then you've got the Regipedia. The Regipedia is actually worth reading if you are going to pick up the game to have a go at. Go through the unit types, game mechanics, and platoon icon thing that they've got here, these articles. They're kind of like written tutorials about each unit. Really, really handy. Then, of course, you've got the units underneath, which kind of acts like an armory, equivalent to like War Game and Steel Division, of course. The units that you have direct control over, you can see all of the statistics for, including like their accuracy and rate of fire and stuff. There isn't any stats about infantry, but infantry is done differently in this game. So infantry doesn't come separately to the vehicles. The vehicles and the infantry are kind of like one entity. And the way it works is that they can unload from a vehicle, but they will stay part of the same group that you can control. You can see we don't actually have stats for like the SU-25 and the SU-22, and that is because you do not have direct control over them. They just come in like tactical aid, basically, similar to World in Conflict, where you kind of call them from off the map. But yeah, so with that said, let's jump into the operations. So my plan with these videos, this and the following videos, is going to be to play through the entirety of one of these operations. Now, they do take a little while. They are split up into 8 phases. Each phase is a 20-minute gameplay segment, so that will give you a rough idea of how long they take. But there is like a meta game to it as well. So this is one I've finished earlier. I did have a go with Operations, and yep, that was the one I played through. Of course, we're going to be starting a new one, and it looks like they do have 4 planned by the looks of things. They've got one called Fractures, one called Shield Wall, Operation Firebird, which is the one we have access to, and Black Horse Mad Dash. I think these are all just based on fictional operations that would have occurred. So let me just read you guys this one. GFSG offensive is faltering, while US Continental Reserves are pouring in. 7th Guards Tank Division is tasked with a deep strike to disrupt NATO reorganization. The date is June 18th to June 19th, 1989. The unit we are going to be controlling is the 40th Motorized Rifle Regiment, and the parent unit of that is the 7th Guards Tank Division under the 3rd Shock Army of the 2nd Western Front. Here is the description of the task. Colonel, there are strong indications that NATO is preparing a general counteroffensive, while our first echelon forces are depleted and the logistics are strained to the limit. Front command needs more time to regain combat effectiveness. Our division will buy that time. Our objective is the Kerchin forward air base immediately to our front. Nearby, Marburg is serving as a rallying point for the bleeding forces of the 3rd German Corps. First US Reforger units are also expected to arrive soon. A bold strike against the airbase will threaten this massive reorganisation effort and will force NATO to react immediately, rerouting capable forces from other areas. Your 40th Motorised Rifle Regiment received the lion's share of recent reinforcements. You will be our battering ram against the 2nd Panzer Division positions, protecting the Kerchain Air Force Base. The enemy is heavily entrenched and has emplaced obstacle belts. 448th Rocket Brigade will provide missile strikes against enemy strongpoints on your command. Use the precious Tokchas wisely. The operation starts at 8. Front expects only success. There is no one else to do it. Don't let them down. So, objectives are to breach the 2nd Panzer Division tactical defences, capture the Kerchain Air Force Base, and 3, hold it against any counterattacks. So these are the 3 sort of things we have to do during the campaign. They will correlate once we jump into the sort of metagame that we'll see. We do have time limits, which is to take the Air Force Base by phase 8 and to defend the Air Force Base for 2 phases in order to win. So we're just going to be going on medium difficulty because the game is actually quite difficult in my opinion. And that's saying something, considering obviously I'm a veteran of Wargame and Steel Division. I haven't quite got my head around all the mechanics for this game just yet and how to really exploit them. So yeah, we're going to keep it medium just so I can show you guys how the game plays out without being, without having my arse beat, basically. So let's jump in. And here we have the mainstay of the thing that you're going to be seeing in between gameplay. So each phase is, like I said, a 20-minute gameplay segment where you jump into the battle and you play it out. You have 8 phases in order to complete your objectives. The first being to get through the Newstad line, then capture the airbase, and then hold the airbase. So that's those 3 that you can see on the right-hand side there. In the middle, we have quite a lot to look at. So this top right thing here, Operational Authority, is basically the resource that you use to upgrade certain things like your deployment points, the amount of deployment points you have, the amount of supplies, tactical support or engineer support you have. You can also use it to bring in task forces. Now this is one thing that's quite awesome about Regiments, is I feel like it does the order of battle very well and very realistically for the time period. So you have like a rifle regiment and then you're attaching task forces to it. And that's costing you the operational authority. You can also use operational authority later on to sort of reinforce your units if you lose them. Since everything in this operation is persistent, which is important to note. But we're going to be starting with the Red Dawn phase. So let me just read this to you. The West Germans had time to restore their defensive line. Break it again. Engineers will help with the obstacle belts. Tactical missiles can reduce any strong points to ashes. You have the tools, now get the results. 79th and 56th Tank Regiments, what's left of them, will be putting pressure on the flanks of the enemy line to left and right of your area of operations. We do have some AI allies that are going to be helping us out in this one. So let's spend our operational authority. We are basically going to grab some extra deployment points. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to grab myself a task force. We might add more of these later on. But I think what I'm going to do is bring in... Let's see, we've got quite a lot of different ones here. Obviously a recon task force, mechanized task force, command group, armored task force. I think I'm going to bring in the command group. So command works a lot like HQ units here. They work a lot like Steel Division in that they give extra like accuracy and resilience to units nearby. So we select that, select call in, and that will add it. Now you got to bear in mind that these groups that you add are permanent. You can't change them, I don't believe, after you've added them. But you can upgrade them. So you can see if I hover over this button, it will show you on the right hand side the upgrades. In this case, this HQ section can be upgraded to level 2 and it will give us access to the SU-22 napalm bombers. And then if we upgrade it again, it gives us access to more mortars. And more specifically, more mortars at the same time. So if we look at these symbols, they're all obviously NATO symbols. But the thing that I want to point out is on the left-hand side of each of these, you have the number of units that you have available. And on top is how many you bring in at a time. And once you bring in, say, this card of T-64B1Vs, that's it. You know, you got the 3 on the field until you retreat them. If they die, then it will basically take them out of this pool in order to replenish them once you retreat and bring them back in again. You'll get used to it as we carry on, but basically that's how it works. But if I go back to this, you can see that the Sani in level 2, you can bring in 3 at a time on one card, whereas on the level 3, you can bring in 6 at a time on one card, so you get definitely more like concentration of fire from that card. On some of these, you can, in like the 3rd level, for example, get Mi-24s, so I'll probably show off one of those at some point as well. I actually haven't tried out helicopters yet, so it'll be interesting for myself as well. I think last time I did Armoured Task Force and some of the other stuff here as well. But yeah, anyway, let's grab that unit, the Damask. Didn't save my changes, so we'll just quickly redo that. And I'm not going to use the rest of my operational authority just because I'm probably going to save up and add another one of these task forces later on. So in order to win, we basically need to get these victory points, and that requires me to take certain objectives in battle. But if we click 2 events, then we can pretty much decide what we want to do. So this is like a card-based system that affects the way that the battle is played out. So you can see you've got 2 beneficial cards and 2 cards that are pretty much like negatives, and change the way that the game plays. So air superiority makes aerial tactical aids twice as cheap. We got divisional artillery, which is an extra barrage tactical aid, is available during this phase. Enemy psyops, platoons may retreat on their own. And airspace denied, which is air tactical aids are not available, helicopters are more expensive to deploy. So it would probably be a good idea to take the airspace denied one first, because we don't actually have any air tactical aid yet, or helicopters. So getting that one out of the way, using up that negative card, will just mean that I don't use it in a later phase. Because you see the 4 cards here, and each phase you have to use at least one of these until they're all gone. And then they get replaced with another 4 for the last 4 phases. That's basically how it works. You have to use every single one at least once. So we're going to take the negative penalty first, so that later on I'm not, making my aircraft less effective, pretty much. All right, let's click to battle. Now we're going to load into the game, and we're going to play out one of these phases, which is a 20-minute gameplay. So here we are on the map. The maps look very similar to Wargame. They really, really do. Like Wargame Red Dragon, Wargame Land Battle, and Wargame European Isolation. Just the way they're designed with these like sort of very unnatural looking hills. Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, roads in this game aren't that important, and that's something to bear in mind. Units don't really use roads. They just go full speed regardless over any terrain, except from like forest cover and urban areas. So they'll just go slower. Fast move in this game, which is a command, just basically tells units to avoid places that will slow them down. Anyway, we need to choose what we're going to do. Our objectives are these 2 ones. We're East and Hill 71. These are the ones that give us the victory points. And then we've also got to secure one of these exit zones in order to move on to the next stage or next phase of the overall operation. So what I'm probably going to do, I think, is focus on the left side. We'll go for the warehouses here in India and Hill 99. When you do capture these, it does give you like temporary bonus deployment points, which you can use to bring in more units, so that's useful. But yeah, we're going to capture like these 4, and then we'll probably take Hill 71, and then we'll probably focus on taking Gura, and then we'll just push to the next stage. I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that all in one phase in the 20 minutes, because as you'll see, units can be quite resilient. I'm going to bring in both of my heavy artillery pieces at the start, which you'll probably think is pretty weird, but you will see why as we carry on. Artillery in this game is actually pretty damn effective, especially mortars. We'll get our T64 BV1s in, and I'll also bring in my BMP2s with riflemen because they have 80 gems. I'm also going to bring in my BMP2s with assault engineers, which are really good for taking out units that are entrenched, but we'll talk about entrenchment in a bit. Bring in my shulkers to give myself anti-air cover, and we'll bring in some recon, which will allow us to see enemy units, which is very important. And I don't know if I'm going to bring in the BTR-70s with fire support. The fire support basically means that they have like auto grenade launchers. So you can see the setup of the infantry that comes with each of these vehicles on the bottom right hand side. So you get like 15 riflemen, 3 machine gunners, 3 anti-tanks, medium, and 2 air defense with riflemen. Then the fire support comes with 4 machine gunners, 4 anti-tank medium, 4 auto grenade launchers, and 12 riflemen. And then you have the BMP2, which is 8 assault engineers, 4 anti-tank medium, and 12 riflemen. And the assault engineers are the ones that have like napalm, and they ignore cover bonuses. So I can actually bring in both these BMP ones, but I think I'm going to bring in... I tend to bring in my HQ unit. I think it'd be pretty useful. So I basically deployed everything over here. I think this will be okay. So let's just unpause. We'll get my T64 BVs to move forwards. You can see the HQ section has like a radius, very similar to Steel Division. Everything in this radius gets like accuracy bonus modifier and like takes less damage and stuff like that. Each unit is not controlled individually, they're controlled as groups. That's another thing to note. And as I mentioned already, infantry is not separate from vehicles, it is like one entity. So in order to get my infantry out, I can click change mode. It will unload the units from the back of the BMP2 and they'll form up next to the units as they move forwards, and that's how you use them to attack. And then you can get them back in as well. When the units are inside, when the infantry is inside, they will, or the BMP2s will move faster. So I'm going to put these onto a control group so we can make sure we use them. Long tube artillery like these, you have to fire manually, but mortars in this game, in fact, acquire targets automatically, which you probably think is kind of crazy, and yes, it definitely is. It most definitely is. So there's interesting sort of things to know about the way that cover works in this game. You see that these infantry, for example, are dug in. And now when we attack them from the front, they're going to take pretty much no damage. But if we can attack them in the rear, they will take like the normal damage, basically, that they would do from, you know, T64 B1Bs firing at them. I'm actually going to put these on hold fire, and we're going to try and sneak them forwards a little bit so we can actually see what we're firing at. Units can entrench over time, as you can see. When they're idle, they get a defensive bonus after like 7 seconds or so, and then like if it's like a motorized unit or motorized, mechanized, or engineer unit, they can entrench as well. which makes them very, very difficult to kill. You see my tanks are just like shooting at these guys, but it's doing absolutely no damage. I mean, technically, my artillery might be able to do some damage to them. Yeah, I'm going to get my engineers to destroy these parts. This is basically sort of like a barricade, and it slows down the progress of your units. You have to destroy these in order to carry on. Just kind of like get in the way, but I'm going to use them here to use my assault engineers to clear these out, because engineers specifically have good bonuses against like barricades. They get rid of them twice as fast. You can have like a normal unit like this, for example, destroy these. If I get these out, you can have these do it as well. They don't have to be out of the vehicle to do it. It's just faster, I think. I'm just using artillery here to break down these defensive points. I actually have some Leopard 2A5s there. I'm kind of tempted to bring in this TBM strike. It does have a 20-minute reload time. You basically only have one of them, but destroying these Leopards that are dug in could be a good idea. I think I'm going to do it. Oh, we're being hit by enemy artillery. Where is that firing from? Pretty important that we spot that. Show you guys this missile in a minute. It's a big missile that comes in and just absolutely decimates stuff. Right, here it comes. Boom. There you go. That's going to make that Leopard 2A1 retreat. Currently actually retreating towards us. Hopefully we can get some HGems on it. Just trying to keep an eye on the enemy artillery because it'd be good to get rid of them. Alright, let's move up and secure this objective. Infantry captures these sectors faster, so having them do it is a good idea. I'm actually just going to load them up quick though, so they move into the area faster. I might as well start popping shells at those Jaegers. Yeah, allies are attacking over here. I will probably just let these dig in. Whilst we capture this. So I'm probably going to go for India next. We'll move up my BRM 1Ks. Keep the Shilka nearby just in case. Getting some nice side shots in there. HGems are pretty damn accurate in this game, so something that's very useful. Oh, we gotta pull back from these. And the idea of AA in this game is not necessarily to shoot down aircraft. They can shoot down aircraft. You need a lot of it to do it. The idea is to, in fact, just panic them so they don't drop their payload for the most part. So the way that penetration works is you do have like a penetration value, I believe. And then there's like a armor value, and based on the difference, that's how much damage you do. That's how it works. Alright, let's move these BMPs forwards. I'm gonna make them pick up their dudes. I am gonna need some ammo for these at some point. One of them's already run out. But you can see they are pretty damn effective. Gonna unload the assault engineers here. You can see these rockets coming in from the infantry as well there. Now, since these are damaged, I'm actually going to retreat them, and they're going to get repaired fully. But the reason I'm doing that is so I can bring in supply. Because every time you retreat a unit, it basically refunds it. So if I wanted, I could like retreat these heavy artillery pieces, and we can bring in new heavy artillery pieces which have ammo from the main base. Alright, let's go capture India. I'm just hoping that everything's gone from here. You do have to be very careful in this game, because like ambushes are real. They can do a lot of damage. So in terms of orders anyway, you got stop, fast move, reverse move. So stop being pretty self-explanatory. Fast move basically makes a unit avoid any cover that will slow them down, as opposed to like using roads, which I already kind of said. You got reverse move, which, you know, reverses with front armor facing the way you want it to go. You've got rotate as well, which basically does the same thing, except from on the spot. You can like change your armor direction manually, that is. They will automatically face to a certain extent if you like right click on a unit. Then you've got the change mode button for infantry. Oh, we do have enemy forces coming in here. We should probably fall back slightly. I'm actually going to retreat that unit because they're kind of in a bad spot. They do actually have a helicopter there. So I'm just retreating to cover. Unfortunately there, one of them got taken out, one of my BMPs. I'm gonna retreat this one. Taking a lot of damage. The Shoka should be able to shoot that down. Yep, nice. My BMP is actually putting in work here. Alright, we're gonna target those with the artillery. And I'm actually gonna have these push forwards. Nice, we stopped both of their payloads with the Shokas there. So I took out that unit. I believe that might have been one that was retreating, so that was actually really good for us. Now we're actually ambushing these Marauder's as they move forwards. We did take quite a lot of damage though. I'm gonna retreat these guys. We'll let that HGM hit. Nice. You can see that unit actually ranked up as well. So there is a veterancy system in this game. I believe it has 4 levels. And my Shilka, I think, is at the highest level. So it goes 1 chevron, 2 chevron. And then there's like one in between. And then I think it goes 2 chevron with... Or like 1 gold chevron and then 2 gold chevrons, I think, is what it does. And with veterancy, what happens is you get like extra accuracy, you know, resilience, etc. So we now have 450 points because I've obviously like retreated stuff and wanted to bring stuff back in. We're going to bring our supply. I'm actually going to tell them to go back and we're going to just replace them. So I got my supply coming in. We got new heavy artillery. I will bring in some more tanks again. And I'm going to bring in my BMP-2 riflemen again. And we're going to probably want to move up and capture more objectives soon because we've only got 6 minutes remaining. We're going to use these riflemen. We'll load them up. And we'll get them to capture this objective. This India objective. I'm going to want to go for the Hill 71, so we'll probably have to capture Hill 91 first. As you can see, it goes like that. And then we'll probably take this one on the left. Right, let's get all of these to start moving up. I'm going to leave the supply with my artillery. I'm going to get my heavy artillery back in. You see they have full ammo again, having retreated. Got a little bit of like a lull, I guess, in the fighting. Now we got stuck here. This is one thing that's quite annoying about these, is you can get stuck on them. Right, we're going to go for the cap on this top area as well. Recon units do have extra stealth, so in cover, so it's worth keeping your recon in cover. And I've got them on return fire there, or hold fire, so that they don't reveal themselves. Get my assault engineers back in. So just shifting all of these units forwards, we'll take the Hill 99. We've destroyed a lot of enemy units now, but they can of course bring in reinforcements, but I don't believe that the AI works on the same rules as you do. I think for each phase they have like a certain number of units that they can deploy, as opposed to like the system where we have like constant reinforcements if we lose stuff. Spotted enemy unit there. Oh, those are Leopard 2A4s. Okay. Let's get our boys to engage that. Sorry about the camera movement. If you hold control, it like wiggles your camera like this based on where your mouse is. But holding control and 1 also is group, so it's a bit odd. I think the controls will definitely need to be switched up a little bit. Right, I guess what we'll probably do is try and like come down the hill here, get into the cover, and then like ambush the Leopard 2A5s from the side. So you can see there's this like semicircle. That's the way that they're facing. You can in fact negate cover bonuses by attacking them from the flank or behind. But at the moment we're just arting the crap out of them, so that works too. You can see the supplies being used up there to do that. Bombing my HQ unit. How rude. Oh, 2 minutes left, so what we're going to do is probably just go for this objective. Potentially this objective as well. Although there's no real like super rush because we have 8 phases, so if we do like 2 phases per mission, then I mean it's actually a good thing. You know, you have plenty of time. Right, so we're gonna get these pretty close. And then we're gonna unload and unleash hell on these Leopard 2A4s. Nice. Got him, boys.
1 minute remaining.
We're gonna smoke them off and tell them to leave. There's another unit in there as well. We'll advance towards them with the riflemen. Did we shoot down an aircraft? I think we did. That's cool. Alright, we'll arty those. Let's finish capturing this. And we're going to finish capturing this. Now, between phases, the position of units is persistent. So you are going to want to make sure that you've got your units in a reasonably good location. Otherwise, it can get a bit weird when you move on to the next battle, because the enemy will pretty much be like right up in your face sometimes. Especially if, say, like I left that as an enemy position, like the hill, for example, and I had units just next to it, then they can actually just deploy units right in that sector, which obviously becomes quite annoying. But we did pretty well. I don't think we lost anything. Maybe this BMP2 we lost, but we destroyed 4 Marder 1A2s, some M113s with Panzergrens, 2 sets of 2A4s, and a Leopard 1A4. I think that's what we entirely destroyed. So Leopard 2A4 is annihilated. That's really good. So we are losing units here. You can see like a Leopard 2A4 killed a 264 B1V. But that's just like an individual unit. And obviously our AI kind of suicided. Alright, so what we do is we go next phase. You can retry every phase if you want to, which is cool. But we'll move on to the next phase. And basically, you can see we are on 30 victory points. So in order to get victory, we need 170. 200 is like decisive victory, and then 230 is, I think, total victory. And you can see that you can get these from each section, or like each, basically section of this operation. So we can get a total of 60 from the Neustadt line if we capture like both objectives, and then before we move on to the next one, and so on. So either way, here we are. We've got some extra operational authority for capturing, I think, points in that mission. I think that's how you get extra operational authority anyway. So we've got 275, and we can now use that to spend on units. We can reinforce units for operational authority. So for example here, it's going to cost me 5 operational authority to replace one of my BMP 1Ps. I can obviously spend some to grab this again, and so on. And that is where I'm going to leave it for today. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys have like this look at the operational or the operations playtest of Regiments. If there's anything in particular you'd like me to explain or talk about or whatever, like leave any questions you have in the comments, and in future episodes of my playthrough of this operations thing, I will address those basically for you, and do my best to anyway, with the limited information that I have. I've kind of gone through and like played this and worked it out myself for the most part. I've played it and read the stuff in the Regipedia that they have on the main menu in order to get all the information. So yeah, anyway, give it a go yourselves, guys. It is available free to play on Steam, so yeah, no reason not to. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this look at Regiments. I think it's a very solid looking game so far. It's not your classic tactical strategy game like Wargame or Steel Division. It's very much trying to be its own thing. It's kind of like got this old school vibe to it. It definitely feels old school. But yeah, I really like the operations game mode. I love this whole like meta game, and then you jump in for 20 minutes of gameplay, and then you go back to the meta game, because it kind of breaks up what can be, like long battles. Like in Steel Division 2, for example, you can have battles that last hours, or like an hour per battle. Whereas in this, it's 20-minute segments, so it's actually quite nice. It's quite refreshing, and it's not necessarily a fast-paced game. As you can see, like units move quite slowly, but it's broken up nicely in my opinion. I quite like it. But yeah, that is it from me. I think this is a very promising game. I will obviously be bringing more of this operation to you as I continue it, with my thoughts and opinions, of course. But that is it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.